Good evening, everyone. Tonight is Tuesday, May 27th, 2025. I'll open up our regular session of our North Liberty City Council. Tracy, could I have a roll call, please?
Leibold.
Here.
Park.
Here.
Sittig.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Wason.
Here.
Thank you. Item 3 is approval of the agenda. There are no changes to it, so could I have a motion for approval, please?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Are there any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda approved. Item 4 is our consent agenda. Anything on there that you want to pull out and talk about separately? Could I have a motion for approval?
So moved. Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda carries. Item 5 is public comment. Now is the time for anyone in the audience wishing to address council with a question or a topic that's not already on the agenda to let us know.
Well, this is on the agenda. I just wonder what the nature of the change order in 4D was.
If you could give us our, we don't normally respond to public comment, but if you'd like to take a stab at this real quick, Ryan.
Sure.
It's easy.
This is the Centennial Center change order that you're referring to? Is that right? So there, I'm bringing up my notes here. There's a number of things.
Could you speak up, please?
Yeah, my apologies. Yeah, there are a number of things within that change order, and I'm just trying to bring it up here on my screen. So bear with me.
It's like it's page 22.
Yeah. Okay, so we have a number of electrical changes or revisions that were made throughout the hall itself or the facility. There was a deduct for some, excuse me, some site furnishings, but there was a bigger add for some site furnishings as well, meaning picnic tables and other sitting areas outside of the Centennial Center. And then we made some changes with the door hardware within the center as well that added to the cost. And then lastly, there was some aluminum siding fasteners that added about $450. So in total, the change was about $33,000 for this particular change. Most of that was additional site furnishings.
Are there any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
I have public comment.
Yeah, please, if you wouldn't mind stepping up here and let us know, just let us know who you are. And
Yep.
So my name is Kelly Pelzel. I'm a 19-year resident of Juniper Street. I live at 440 Juniper Street, and I just wanted to enter into public record my concern about the current speeding problem on Juniper Street, as well as to offer ideas that prioritize the lives of our youngest citizens over service and speed. On April 25th, my husband and I were watching a mother duck watch her ducklings across the street in front of our house when a speeder blasted through and killed 5 ducklings right in front of us. 18 months earlier, my family and I were cleaning out our cars in the driveway when a speeder blasted through and killed my neighbor's dog. A neighbor's cat has also been killed, and we have neighbors that have moved off Juniper Street because of the speeding problem. Everyone has a breaking point, and I think cleaning cute animal brains off of Juniper Street twice in an 18-month period was my breaking point. I'm coming to tell you that the speeding problem on Juniper Street must be fixed before another low-profile being, a young child, is killed on Juniper Street. In 19 years, the speeding has never been this bad, and there are many things that can be done to curb this problem. First, I want to commend City Planning Director, Mr. Rusnick, for meeting with me on Friday, May 9th, and offering to obtain additional data on the speeds of vehicles on Juniper Street. This is a good first step, and I look forward to seeing the findings. Second, I propose Juniper Street receive a special speed zone designation given its proximity to Heritage Christian School. After talking with Mr. Rusnick, it is my understanding that Juniper Street has likely inadvertently been left off the list of streets close enough to schools to receive this designation. This should be a very easy thing for you to fix, and a good second step. Thinking beyond these 2 short-term steps, I asked that you consider how you plan to slow traffic on Juniper Street through the day and night until the planned redesign of the street a few years from now, after which hopefully the optics of the new curb and street will reduce the number of speeders. Some solutions that other communities have employed include speed bumps, speed tables, digital speed displays, and lowering the speed to 20 miles per hour in some or all residential streets. I am aware the City of North Liberty is generally anti-speed bumps and anti-speed tables. I'm aware digital speed displays are expensive. I'm aware that lowering the speed to 20 miles per hour in residential streets costs nothing and has been successfully employed by many cities, including Boulder, Austin, Minneapolis, and Portland, to name a few. 20's plenty is what they say, and not only is that catchy, it saves lives. Mr. Rusnick reminded me earlier this month in North Liberty, we have the great problem of many children. To misquote Spider-Man, with great problems comes great responsibility, and I'm asking you to take responsibility for helping keeping the young children of Juniper Street safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Are there any other comments? I will close the public comment time and move on to item 6, which is our engineer's report. Josiah.
Thanks, Mayor. We've got one project in the bid phase. It's the South Fiber Project. Those bids will come in this Thursday and will be on your agenda for the next meeting in June to consider the bids and award the contract. I checked in with the contractor today on the Penn 380 project. The first ramp closure is planned to begin on Tuesday, June 10th. That will be the northbound on-ramp. That'll be the ramp in the northeast corner. That closure will last, it's estimated, probably 2 to 3 months before they can get that back open. The next ramp closure will be after that in that August, September timeframe, so we'll confirm for them exactly when that is and which ramp it'll be at that time. We got one other project under construction or about to be, Freedom Park Trail improvements coming up this year. They can start June 9th at the earliest. We're looking at a pre-construction meeting with them, and so that project will get started here in the next month or so. And I had a couple quick updates for you on Centennial Event Complex. If you haven't been out there, the brick and stone cast on the outside is all complete. The stage construction continues. There's a lot going on there. The framing for the exterior windows has started. So now that the exterior is done, now the windows are going to start going in. And also, a lot of the utility work that went on last year is wrapping up. So we're actually starting to grade the site a little bit and get it cleaned up. There'll be some seating work soon for those areas that are already done. And I guess the next thing they're getting ready for is there's a lot of sidewalks out there and paved access roads and lights and things. So a lot of that work is going on to get the underground electric in and get the grade ready for paving later this summer. So good progress there. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Josiah. Did you say that they're just going to close one ramp at a time out there at 380? So
Correct, on Penn 380, one ramp at a time.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the 10th is northbound?
It's the northbound on-ramp.
On-ramp.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Mostly for Ryan. Ryan, what's kind of the comms plan? That's a big one, and that'll be a big closure where we're probably going to see a fair amount of folks get out there and forget, and then once they're in it, and they're going to have to go south through North Liberty's, used to be Cloverleaf's, to come back northbound, where if we just send them to Forever Green, it's probably better that way. So Facebook's postings, maybe the water bill, like going above and beyond with this messaging, signage out there prior. I guess I would like to see kind of a big.
This is a DOT project, so we don't have a lot of control over that. We will, especially the detour and signage. I mean, that's all been pre-established, which they'll of course have those signs up, and then we will. What do the kids say? Repost or continue to push out their message, help them push out their message But ultimately, it is their project, so we have to be a little bit careful about that.
Okay, understood.
Any other questions? Thanks, Josiah. Ryan, I'll move on to item 7 for the city administrator's report.
Yeah, thanks. Just a few things for me tonight. I know you have, all of you've had conversations with Greater IC about the potential for a local option sales tax in Johnson County and in individual communities. They've asked us to have a conversation around this dais, and so in consultation with the mayor, we're planning to have that discussion next week, or at our next meeting, June 10th. So I'll have some preliminary information for you in terms of revenue projections from a local option sales tax. But I think really the question that Greater Iowa City is asking is, does this council have an appetite to put something like that on an election? And if so, we would need to determine how those funds would be spent. Some of it is, some of how those funds are spent are prescribed by state code. And then a good chunk of them can be prescribed locally here by this group to, if you would decide to move forward, to determine how we would allocate those funds. So just a heads up that we'll be having that conversation at the next meeting. And if there's anything you need from me in the meantime, please let me know. I mentioned I'd keep you posted on the Urban Central District acquisitions. To date, 2 acquisitions have been made. The Hauser property, which is the north pole building right on Ranchaw Way, and then what's commonly referred to as the old Lifetime building. Both those properties have been acquired for about $3.6 million. So that's what we have out so far. We anticipate additional closings happening next week and later into June and early July. And then lastly, I would just note that today we received just this evening actually received our bond rating from Moody's. I'm happy to report we remain at a AA3, so we feel pretty good about that. The press release is now available on Moody's website, and I'll be sure to share it with you in the morning. So coming into our bond sale on the 10th, we have a good bond rating, so we're always happy to hear that. And that's what I have this evening, Mayor.
Thanks, Ryan. Are there any questions for Ryan? Moving on to item 8, Mayor's report. I'm going to start with our proclamation for tonight, Gun Violence Awareness Day. Whereas every day more than 125 Americans are killed by gun violence and more than 260 are shot and wounded, with an average of more than 19,000 gun homicides every year. And whereas Americans are 26 times more likely to die by gun homicide than people in other high-income countries, and whereas Iowa has 343 gun deaths every year, with a rate of 10.7 deaths per 100,000 people, a crisis that costs the state $4.2 billion each year, of which $53 million is paid by taxpayers. Iowa has the 42nd highest rate of gun deaths in the U.S. And whereas gun violence prevention is more important than ever as we see an increase in firearm homicides and non-fatal shootings across the country, increased calls to domestic violence hotlines, and an increase in city gun violence. And whereas support for the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens goes hand in hand with keeping guns away from those who are in danger to themselves or others, and whereas in June of 2013, Hadiah Pendleton was tragically shot and killed at age 15, and on June 2nd, 2024, recognized the 27th birthday of Hadiah Pendleton, born June 2nd, 1997. People across the United States will recognize National Gun Violence Awareness Day and wear orange in tribute to, number 1, Hadiah Pendleton and other victims of gun violence, and number 2, the loved ones of those victims. And whereas Hadiah's friends who asked their classmates to commemorate her life by wearing orange, which color was chosen because hunters wear orange to announce themselves to other hunters when out in the woods, and orange is a color that symbolizes the value of human life. And whereas we renew our commitment to reduce gun violence and pledge to do all we can to keep firearms out of the wrong hands and encourage responsible gun ownership to help keep our families and communities safe. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Chris Hoffman, Mayor of North Liberty, do here proclaim June 6th, 2025 as Gun Violence Awareness Day in the city of North Liberty. I encourage everyone to honor and remember all victims and survivors of gun violence, to support their local communities' efforts to prevent the tragic effects of gun violence, and declare that we as a country do more to end this public health crisis. Anyone wishing to make comments here for us?
My name is Lori Durian. I am a North Liberty resident. I'm also a volunteer with the Johnson County Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. I've been volunteering in gun violence prevention spaces since the Parkland High School mass shooting in 2018. I've been here in front of the North Liberty City Council to present and accept the National Gun Violence Awareness Day proclamation since 2022. My first trip in front of the City Council was on May 24th, 2022, the day of the Uvalde Elementary School mass shooting. Over the years, I've attended trainings that covered topics ranging from safe storage initiatives to learning how to center the stories of gun violence survivors. I am aware of the statistics, including that approximately 340 Iowans die annually due to gun violence, and that 80% of those deaths are due to firearm suicide. The stats and training did not prepare me for the call I received from my father on May 8th, 2025, when he called to tell me that my 29-year-old cousin had died by firearm suicide. When gun violence occurs, we often ask, what can we do? My response is always, we can honor the victims and survivors with action. Tonight, I begin my journey to honor Jamie, his 5-year-old son, his parents, his brothers, and his extended family that miss him dearly. By accepting this proclamation and renewing my commitment to advocating for common sense, community-based solutions to gun violence, including firearm suicide. Thank you for acknowledging National Gun Violence Awareness Day on June 6th, and for remembering the victims and survivors of gun violence. Please join me and all of the volunteers working to end the epidemic of gun violence by wearing orange on June 6th, in remembrance of those who have survived and those we've lost. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Did you want to accept this proclamation? Do you want a photo?
Yes, please.
Got it.
Quickest evacuation ever.
I just wanted to wrap up my time, first of all, thanking Mayor Pro Tem Wason for covering for me during the last meeting. And it was a doozy that you all sat through, so thank you for your efforts in doing that. I wanted to express my gratitude, first of all, to three folks that are sitting over here, two, excuse me, that are sitting over here to my right for all their efforts in that Urban Central District agreement. It was a lot of information in a very short period of time. So Ryan Heyer and Ryan Rusnak, your efforts were extraordinary in this very short amount of time that you pulled that off. These two, along with our bond counsel at Dorsey and Whitney, as well as our city's financial advisor, I digested a lot of information in what we estimate was about a 6-month time frame. And it all started about 3 years ago as a question that we as a city asked of a developer in the community on a site that they had purchased. We wanted to do something better, and that's what this Cherry Street district is becoming. Within that year, another partner jumped into that equation, and by the end of last year, ideas and numbers had already started floating around. What you guys may not know is back in January, Ryan actually enlisted the help of an outside person to digest these numbers. And what they told him after a couple of weeks is that there's more information than they're capable of digesting, and that they didn't have all of the information that they would normally want to have for this. So he and city staff and our bond counsel and our financial advisor took on this role themselves. And in these 5 months since then, made that developers agreement what it was in front of you. So you guys did a great job in that conversation, and it was a successful vote. I just wanted to make sure that the staff got the recognition that they did, because they should have gotten more, in my opinion, on that night. Since then, since about February, I think Ryan has done an exceptional job of keeping all of us updated on what's going on, and got us on board back in March when Brandon was able to, the developer was able to come in and present this publicly. He put himself at a lot of financial risk by doing that, but gave us about a 2 months head start on this. And by that time, we got that agreement in place. The Friday before that last council meeting, it was mostly set. There were just some dates missing and maybe a few appendices missing. So thank you both for everything that you did, getting that through in such a time frame that you did. And thank you again for covering for me. I'll wrap up my report and move on to item number 9, which is council reports. Almost thought we were going to have no reports here. Go ahead, sir.
So I attended the Emergency Management Agency meeting the last week, and they're working on a building to house some of the equipment, and hopefully that will be able to be bid this summer. Will not be as big as they had hoped due to the costs of everything and stuff, but it will work on getting some of the heavier equipment in a better storage. We also went to the MPO meeting and basically approved the plans for the transit part and then the road program, and you have to have those plans set so then you can get money from the federal government to match up with those requests. So we hope to have all that stuff lined up for the next meeting. And then I was able to attend the Memorial Day service for the American Legion at Ridgeway Cemetery. So it was nicely done, and I appreciate them putting that on, and then all the scouts for helping.
Awesome. I forgot to thank you too, Eric, for filling in at that MPO meeting
Yeah,
last week for us.
no problem. I guess I'll jump in. I mean, I attended the MPO meeting, also the Greater IC Community Lunch Connection on the 14th. Always interesting to talk to people at those things. The Emory ribbon cutting on the 15th was the first time I'd been inside any of those buildings. The clubhouse is quite something. So if you have an opportunity, if you haven't been in there before, certainly take it. And then on Friday, the Johnson County Affordable Housing Coalition community meeting, Christine Hayes from Shelter House talked about funding cuts and how those funding cuts might be affecting their services. So pay attention.
Thanks, Eric.
Our monthly meeting with Lake Iowa City, the strategic planning and approval process continues there. So most of you participated in a lot of that, so appreciate that. Some decisions coming through the board, and we're working through that process. And then with the sheriff in the room, saw the sheriff serving pancakes at the Solon Pancake Breakfast for Solon Fire Department. So went over and participated in that and helped our neighbors that help us so much. So appreciate that event.
Thank you.
I'd say that there was a great turnout at the Strategic Investment District Neighborhood Open House at Heinz Ice Cream. A lot of good input there. And then I was able to participate in the charrette process at City Hall. I got to say that was a great use of the public space that is available for rent if anyone out there wants to utilize it. But yeah, some really great ideas, some really talented people in there, community coming together kind of thing. And I think North Liberty will be happy with what's kind of going on there. Playground crawl I wasn't able to attend, but it looked like a blast. So I want to say congrats and thanks to all the volunteers that made that happen. And attended the American Legion memorial service at Ridgewood Cemetery and a nice lunch and dedication ceremony at Club 76. So thank them for putting that on.
Last but not least, I'll just take this opportunity to say thank you, Kelly, for your comments and public comment. Appreciate that. And thank you, Lori, as well, for yours. On behalf, just really appreciate that. I was able to attend the State of the City meeting, actually, in Cedar Rapids, which was very well done and very informative as a neighboring community to the north. I took a tour of Child Serve in Coralville. Was really impressed with their facility and what their efforts are supporting. And then I'll just take this opportunity to say congratulations to all the graduates, whether they be at Liberty, Clear Creek, Regina, Solon, all within the community. It's important that we recognize not only their efforts, but also the parents that support them. So thank you to all the graduates and congratulations.
Thanks, Brian. Paul, I think you were too old for the playground crawl, so it's okay. All right.
I can't handle that.
Item 10. Thank you all for sitting out there and for reaching out a couple of weeks ago. We have with us some elected officials from Johnson County who are here to provide us with an update. Tell us what's going on over there.
So, first of all, I'd like to start with a kind of a complaint. You keep taking my favorite people away from Johnson County to work for North Liberty. I want to be Angela McConville, and you recently got Andrew Kirkove for your finance guy, and he's an amazing person who's really good with numbers. So, next bond issue, you won't have to look out for anyone. You got Eric. Thanks for this opportunity. We reached out. First of all, you probably recognize those two people, right? You got the county attorney and the county sheriff there. So they work hard for you every day. I'm probably more of a face you don't recognize. I'm the treasurer. So I'm the one who gets you your money for all the things you want to do for your streets and roads and police. So I do the best I can. You'll be happy to know that I just got done working with our online vendor. Paying taxes is never fun, but it can be more convenient. So we're finally going to have customer accounts through Iowa Tax and Tags. So when you make a payment, you can set up an account and map out your future payments as you go. We'll do ACHs from your account, and you won't have to remember in March to pay. So for me, that's a big win. One of our biggest customer service areas was making sure people remember in March, and this will go a long way for helping to do that. But what we wanted to do was gauge interest in this being more of a semi-annual or annual visit. Any interest in us coming with updates for that in the future, or what does the council think as a whole?
Sure.
All right. I don't know if you have any questions for either of my compatriots, but they're back there should you have any. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Rachel Zimmerman-Smith, the Johnson County Attorney. I think I know most of you, and hello to those I have never met. First, just want to say it's an honor to represent Johnson County and to work with all of you. We have about 40 folks in my office, including 17 attorneys, including myself, and we love working with Grant. When Grant calls, we know it's going to be a fun call, and he always, we would just work well together, so we're really grateful to have him as part of our legal community. Just to give you a little bit of an update about some statistics for Johnson County. Last year, my office prosecuted about 5,400 cases, and of those, that's about 8,655 individual charges. About 6% of those come from the North Liberty Police Department. We have a great working relationship with Chief Veninga, and gun violence is a particular focus of mine. Some of you may know about the Johnson County Community Violence Intervention Program that we started 2 years ago. We have a coordinator named Jess Lang who's been working to intervene with gun violence before it starts. in the community. We figure out the individuals who are most likely to be the victims of gun violence, but also most likely to be the perpetrators of gun violence, and try to intervene and get them services before somebody gets injured or killed. So I think it's really appropriate that we're here tonight with the proclamation for Moms Demand Action, and also just want to thank the North Liberty Police Department. Chief Veninga and Lieutenant Ruben Ross have been really instrumental in that program and have been supporting it from the beginning. So that's we really love having North Liberty as a partner in that effort, and they have been great partners. Also, just a little bit of an update about our civil mental health court, which is the only mental health court of its kind in the state, is in its second year now. So we're helping folks with serious mental illness try to avoid the justice system, which sounds weird for a prosecutor to say, but one of our goals is to try to keep people out of the justice system and out of the jail. And I think that's a good transition to Sheriff Kunkel. So.
I probably could have said this during the proclamation, but to you guys, thanks for taking the lead on this and bringing it to their attention. I've been in law enforcement for 25 years, so I've seen gun violence about every way imaginable, but it also affected me directly. It's been 13 years ago now, when my sister was the victim of a domestic violence homicide. So I've seen and lived this, if you will, in a number of ways. So thank you for the proclamation and taking it seriously. We make gun violence a priority. I wish more and more people would. As you all know, I'm Brad Kunkel. I'm your favorite county sheriff. Appreciate the opportunity to be here. Just a couple quick updates from the sheriff's office. I think first on the staffing front, I think we've pretty much recovered from the dip we saw post-COVID. We're doing very well staffing. We just onboarded, sworn a new deputy last week. I think all of our deputy positions are filled. We're taking applications right now that closes Friday for detention officers. We're switching our staffing model in the jail, moving away from all sworn to civilian detention officers. In the grand scheme of things, that'll save about, I think, $13,000 a piece just in salary and benefits. And then plus there's the ancillary costs of sending some of the academy, for example, if we hire certified versus non-certified. So it becomes a significant cost savings. But also as we are charging down the road of looking at a bond referendum next fall, having a different staffing model in place will be easier to do now versus trying to turn the keys in something in the future and then try and rework how we're doing the staffing. As you know, or if you've been in living under a rock anytime in the last, 15 years, the sheriff's office and jail as a building is slowly deteriorating. We've had studies done on the structural integrity of the building, which is really kind of what brought it to the forefront of the public in the last couple of years. If you even drive by the building, you can see where the edges or the brick and the iron plates that do the supporting are no longer working. We have crack gauges inside the building that have been keeping track of the structure itself. And so we're really starting to see what it looks like when public safety infrastructure that has an agreed upon lifespan is at the end of its life. We had a space needs study done last year that recommended a 140-bed jail facility in addition to a new sheriff's office. At the same time we did that space study, the city of Iowa City basically was going through the same thing. They had a space study done for the police department, recommended the construction of a new police department. Now we've taken our study, combined it with the study that Iowa City's doing. The architects are working together, come up with, well, what would a joint law enforcement facility look like? And then what kind of a cost would that be to the taxpayer? At first glance, it makes more sense instead of having, say, two large bond referendums, maybe a year apart. Why not look at, can we combine operational needs for the police department and the sheriff's office, have the jail attached as one joint facility, and then can that be overall a reduced cost to the taxpayer? We hope to have kind of a better idea of where that study looks by the end of the summer and have an update for the Board of Supervisors, the City Council, and we're looking at doing that, putting it on the ballot for the voters next November and timing it with the midterm elections. And then lastly, like county attorney said, the partnerships we have with with not only with the police department, but how in turn with the city, with the fire department, the way we work together. I'm really proud of the work that we all do, and kind of the value added services we are able to provide because we work together. North Liberty is a member of the JFACT, our Joint Forensic Analysis Cyber Team. We work together with our mental health liaison. I just had a meeting with Chief Plotz last week about working together on some issues involving rural fire. So we work together very closely in a lot of different ways, and I think it's helpful to have those relationships that go back. I mean, my career, I remember when Jim and Diane were first hired up here, and when I first came to patrol, we were still contracting with North Liberty. So I've been around long enough to see this evolve, but also know that we kind of operate like a larger metro law enforcement agency in a lot of ways than a lot of separate law enforcement agencies. It works really well. We have regular meetings. We work together a lot. We share a lot of information, and you guys have a lot of good things going on up here. So we're just happy to be involved, happy to have a seat at the table, and thanks for letting us come up and take some of your time.
Thanks for stopping up.
Mayor, if you don't mind, I have a question for the sheriff. If you would
Go right ahead. That's what we're here for.
So, Sheriff, I've been very publicly boisterous about your project in supporting what you have been asking for. Also, voiced my displeasure with the County Board of Supervisors in this chamber. So, I guess question. I've told the mayor and staff here what I believed from my seat here, what could benefit you from North Liberty. I guess tonight my question to you is what could help you from our seats as council and a city in going into the bond referendum? What do you need from North Liberty to help make that successful?
There will come a time where I think, one, we'll need to do, we'll kind of need to take our tour on the road, if you will, of educating the public about the need and the cost. I mean, those are the two big things this comes down to. So I think, one, there'll be a point where we'll need to facilitate that up here somewhere, with a public meeting. But two, having that buy-in, like that official support from all the municipalities is going to be really important. I hear about it and I get asked about this every single place I go. Serving pancakes Sunday morning. I had a guy tell me he got our survey in the mail. He's ready to fill it out, which, by the way, we're sending out a survey. It just went out last week. Some of you may have gotten it already, landed in your mailbox, to kind of gauge the level of public knowledge and about the jail and sheriff's office needs. And then that's going to inform us about where we need to provide more education. So to help people make an informed decision, what do they need to know? What do they want to know about this project? But yeah, there will come a time when I'll ask you and Oxford and everybody in between for some sort of formal support for this. This is not just an Iowa City issue. This is not just a Coralville issue. This is an issue for the 160,000 people that live in Johnson County. Every taxpayer has skin in the game, and the sheriff's office and jail are public safety infrastructure, just like your fire stations, your police station, your ambulance service, and everything in between. This is not like an option. This is something everybody has stake in, because the sheriff and the jail and everything that we do are services required by Iowa code, and everybody has input on it. So, and that includes you as elected officials and the people you represent. So I would say in the meantime, I think in your private conversations, express your own support. I would really appreciate that. And if people have questions, comments, or concerns, I'm very easy to get a hold of. I'm happy to talk with folks or come meet with them. But above all, just know that the time will come when I'll be in front of you again asking for some sort of a vote, whether it's a resolution or just simply an item on the agenda to show the city of North Liberty's support for this. Thank you.
Thanks, Sheriff. Thanks, Mayor.
Okay.
Anyone else, Scott? All right. Scott reached out and asked if we could do this on like he said, in a somewhat like every 6 months or every year or so. So I'm glad that you were here and reconnecting these ties. It's been a while since we've had some updates from the county. So let's do this again.
My pleasure.
Thank you guys for coming up.
Thanks for having us.
Item 11 is our FY 2025-2026 budget, and item A is the public hearing regarding proposed FY 25-26 budget. Could I have a motion for consideration, please?
So moved. For consideration of.
I'm sorry, public hearing. Thanks, Paul, for jumping in on that, though. I will open the public hearing for our FY budget, FY 2025-26 budget. Anyone has any comments during this time period, you're welcome to address us. Seeing no comments, I will close the public hearing. Move on to item B, which is the resolution number 2025-60, a resolution adopting the annual budget and capital improvements plan for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2026 for the city of North Liberty. Could I have a motion for consideration, please?
So moved.
Thanks, Paul.
Second.
Thank you, Brian. Are there any questions? Tracy, could I have roll call, please?
Leibold,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Wason,
Aye.
Sittig,
Aye.
Park.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Item 12 is the FY 2024-2025 budget amendment, and item A is also a public hearing regarding proposed FY 2024-2025 budget amendment. Are there any comments regarding this item? I will close the public hearing and move on to item B, which is resolution number 2025-61, a resolution amending the current budget for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025. Could I have a motion for consideration, please?
So moved.
Second.
By Smith, seconded by Sittig. Are there any questions?
Could maybe Ryan just give us a little what that means?
Be happy to.
Please do.
So the budget amendment, for those of you that have been around this dais for a while, you know we do this every year. I think it's safe to say that nearly every city that wants to stay compliant with state law does a budget amendment every year, simply because it gets a little difficult when you're planning your revenues and expenses for the following year, about 18 months out. So what's in front of you tonight is you're seeing mainly adjustments in our capital funds. There is some adjustments throughout operating, both from a revenue and a expense standpoint. At the end of the day, the fund balances will remain very close to what we've budgeted for. In these cases, it gets a little bit difficult to plan capital projects, or and sometimes operational projects, if for example, we don't get billed for something until the new fiscal year, as an example. So this amendment cleans all that up and will keep us in good standing with the state, and our team is recommending approval of this amendment.
Any other questions? Tracy, could I have roll call, please?
Wason,
Aye.
Park,
Aye.
Leibold,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Sittig.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Item 13 is UCD Holdings LLC rezoning, and item A is a public hearing regarding proposed rezoning. Are there any questions or comments about this item? I'll close the public hearing and move on to item B, which is the Planning Commission and staff recommendations.
Thank you, Mayor. You can see the property up here. We talked about it for quite some time now. Property currently zoned C3 and C1B, urban high intensity on the land use map. I think Councilor Leipold had mentioned if there were any comprehensive plan references to this, and I thought this was interesting. I included the background material, but included in the 2023 adoption was a concept plan we looked at for redevelopment of this property. What I thought was really cool was the developers really kind of took a look at that, included that road coming up. This was a little more ambitious in some aspects, but they just help you to think about how properties can be redeveloped and envision the future. So throughout the comp plan, the Cherry Street Investment District is talked about and recommended. We do have a preliminary plat that was also recommended for approval by the Planning Commission. That'll come to you on the last reading of the rezoning. But this is a 7-lot subdivision to facilitate commercial and residential development on the 10.04 acres. And again, this continues to evolve, and the one thing that I've said throughout this process is the only constant is that these things will change. But here's the latest concept we have for development of the property, and we're pretty excited about it. We did have a virtual good neighbor meeting on April 24th. We had 6 people outside of city staff and the developer attend, and they were very supportive of the request. We have no objections in the file. And so there was one finding that it achieved consistency with approval standards, and the Planning Commission accepted that finding and forwards the request to the City Council with a recommendation for approval. Thank you, Mayor.
Cool. Thank you. Are there any questions for Russ?
Russ, those that attended, were there any business owners around there? Did they have comments about their...
Not business owners. There were representatives of the multifamily just directly to the east.
Okay.
No, and I take that back. There was one property business owner. I actually think it was a property owner on the north side of Cherry Street, where the Montessori is. They were there as well. I think they had some unrelated questions, but we're also supportive of everything that's going through there.
Okay.
Item C is applicant presentation.
Good evening, John Marner with MMS Consultants representing the developer. No formal presentation, I think, as Russ mentioned. You've seen this concept in some of these items before you multiple times. This is just that next step is the zoning and then subsequently the preliminary plat. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Any questions for John? Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. Item D is first consideration of ordinance number 2025-11, an ordinance amending the zoning map district designation for certain property located in North Liberty, Iowa from C1B General Commercial District and C3 High Intensity Commercial District to CU C3 Urban Central Higher Intensity Commercial District. Could I have a motion for consideration, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Parks, seconded by Wason. Are there any questions about this? Tracy, could I please have roll call?
Wason.
Aye.
Leibold.
Aye.
Park.
Aye.
Sittig.
I abstain due to a conflict.
Smith.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Item 14 is Watts Group Development, Inc., rezoning East Side, and item A is public hearing regarding proposed rezoning. Anyone wishing to make any comments on this item? Seeing none, I will close public hearing, excuse me. Item B is Planning Commission and staff recommendations, Russ.
Thank you, Mayor. As you can see, we decided to break this request up to east side and west side, understanding that some folks may have concerns with the east side or west side and not with the other and vice versa. Plus, there's a major road bifurcating, the request. Certainly, this is one of the bigger rezonings I've ever worked on. So it's been pretty interesting. Here's a map that shows the various types of zonings that they would be requesting. Currently, property zoned ID interim development. I think this is a property in the middle of the city with utilities right in front of it. That everyone thought, we're not sure how long it's going to take for this property to develop. Just it seemed like the landowners weren't willing. So we were a little surprised to see this request come forward. The land use on the north side is urban low intensity, and then the tan is urban medium intensity. And here kind of shows both sides with the different zonings, kind of showed the lot sizes that they would be requesting, but generally a mix of housing types throughout. I think in the city administrator Harris write-up on his memo Talked about, the preserve, which Watts has developed, is about 75 acres. This is twice that size. So preserve has been developing since about 2019, is getting close to being done. So it just gives you an idea of how long these things take. This is twice that size. With the absorption rates we have in the city, things can go up or down, but we expect it to take twice as long to develop through there. We expect them to develop on the east side first, and then eventually make their way to the south. Certainly one of the major parts of this is Tartan Drive, making that full connection. We actually had two good neighbor meetings on this one. We did them on either side of spring break. So we did one in person on March 12th. That was very well attended. We had about 40 people attend. And then after spring break, we did a virtual meeting just to try and get as much outreach as we could. That was on March 26th. And we had about 40 people attend. So we had, which is always encouraging. We had a lot of good comments. We had a lot of good attendance, a lot of great questions. We took them through kind of a summary of what different areas of development that's happening in the area. So I appreciate that people took the time to show up and ask those questions. I've listed kind of what those concerns are. Well, a lot of common requests that we get, compatibility, stormwater drainage, understandably traffic impacts on this one because it's a little bit larger. I just, consistency with the comp plan is obviously one of the bigger ones that we look at. The one thing I wanted to talk about is, the land use boundaries in the comp plan. They're generalized locations and they're meant to be fuzzy lines. But what I did do was looked at the number of acres in the urban low intensity and the urban medium intensity. And based on the land use densities permitted in the descriptions, that equates to about 317 to 572 units per acre. That's about 5.79 to 10.45 units per acre. And the maximum based on the lot size is higher than that. But when you start taking in roads and stormwater detention and things like that, we get 328, which is about 6.02 units to the acre. The developer's concept shows 247, which is 4.53 acres. Just long-winded way of saying, this is on the lower end of what we would consider density. Usually if you get up higher above 14 units to the acre, you're in the 15. That's what we would consider higher. Medium is that 7 to 14. So when you take the proposed development area, you're on the lower end of it. And so certainly we think it's consistent with the comprehensive plan. It's important, and I appreciate Watts's approach to this. The plan that they came initially was trying to respect the outside borders and increasing the density as you move towards the arterial road. So that meant, having RS6 zoning, where you have other RS6 zoning, that's the blue, and then the brown is the RD10 adjacent to other RD10s, and then the purple is RM12 and then RM14. So that density, as I said, not still in that medium range, increases as you move towards the arterial road and respects that. And there were some changes on the east side. I think originally there was some RD10 along Ogden that was changed after the Good Neighbor meetings. And originally they requested an RM21. And some of the comments that we heard through the Good Neighbor meetings was, wow, that seems too dense through this. And so they amended their request to the RM14 on both sides. And stormwater drainage just kind of shows the area where we're draining to in the south and the northeast. The Planning Commission, I think I have got, actually, yeah. Planning Commission found that the request achieves consistency with approval standards, and they recommended approval as well. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Russ. Any questions for Russ? Seeing none, I'm going to move on to applicant presentation.
Thank you, and good evening. Thanks for having us. I'm Randy Lang with Watts Group, and you all know John. And we just wanted to share a little bit about Watts Group. We're a local company been around for a while. You can see here we've shared some numbers about some of the active developments we have going on. Over 3,200 homes over the course of our company's history, and so you can see we're rather busy in the area. The next slide will show a little bit about what drives us. Obviously, we are invested in, creating neighborhoods and communities that we can be proud of. And on the map here, you'll see where we show up throughout Johnson and Lynn County. So a lot of our work is focused around the area, and it's been that way for quite some time. You can see kind of where we play, and then a little bit of information on us as a home builder. So we're happy to be here in North Liberty. We've worked here in the past, as you'll see from the next slide. This is a little bit about us and what's happened in the area over the years. Ryan spoke most notably about the recent development we have in the preserve, which we started in 2019. It's about half the size of this development itself, and it's probably going to be about 8 years by the time we are complete with that one. So if you think about this development, we're looking at probably 2 times that, depending on what the market drives. So the next slide will show you, that on this specific development, our vision is to provide a variety of homes for the residents of North Liberty, everything from those that are looking for their first single-family home, maybe trading up to a second or third home, maybe someone downsizing, or to a first-time home buyer. And so this is just some images of some of the stuff we've done here recently so that the council can get an idea of some of our work. So with that, it's just a little bit deeper dive on some of our homes. John, anything to add?
Nothing specific. I'm just, as Russ mentioned, it was a iterative process to get to this point. We focused originally on ensuring that we had those single-family complementary zoning districts around the perimeter, and then we tried to focus the higher density or the medium density, some of those townhomes and the other multifamily, the RM14 along Dubuque Street, where there's easy access and want to provide those types of units. So I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
And maybe just to add, the east side, there's around 55 acres, so we anticipate it could be 7-8 years before we get to the actual west side of Dubuque Street. So
I have a
Go ahead, Paul.
question. So with the change from RM21 to RM14, I saw you had an example of RM12. What do you envision in that RM14 area?
yeah, we anticipate it being a maximum of 12 or 24 plex, something of that magnitude. We haven't drilled that far into the phasing, but provide that opportunity for that if that was needed.
So it would be like condos?
Could be condos or multifamily.
But you don't know yet?
We've modeled both. We know that we have 12 plex product that we have in Liberty Center that we've used in the past, and also a 24 unit building in the past as well.
And then can you actually live near there?
Mm-hmm.
So thanks for the changes you already made, particularly like Ogden Lane and kind of continuing the single family that was already there. As far as construction traffic goes, do you envision that all comes from the east, like through those neighborhoods?
I think that's something that we're going to have to work through during the preliminary plat phase, and then certainly as we move into the construction plan design phase, there's things that we'll need to address with Dubuque Street as well, potentially. I think access to Dubuque Street, there's the combination of you want to restrict or limit access through those residential neighborhoods, certainly, but you also want to be aware and and a little bit protective of the type of access to Dubuque Street. There's certainly some concerns about traffic related there, so I think we need to balance those concerns and work with engineering staff and planning staff to make sure that we're providing the best possible route. It could be a combination over time.
I'm just going to keep going until someone stops me. No, I'm joking. Not that, I think we had a map in the packet that had the parks, and the ranges that those parks are in. I don't know if it's, appropriate for this development, but I feel like we're getting close in that side of town to needing a park. So I just wanted to mention that. And then if I could, like on a personal note, I would love to see more color in developments. And again, I'm just speaking for myself, but for instance, like the peninsula, nothing crazy. But the peninsula, I think, uses a lot of subtle, colors that I would just love to see us, get away from all the grays and browns. And that's just my own personal thoughts. And I'll pass it along with my colleagues here. Thank you.
Paul, I'll jump on that. So architectural diversity is a concern of mine here, especially with a developer developing this large of a landscape. Some of the developments that we've seen with singular developers, much smaller scale than this, tend to get cookie cutter. Money savings on the front end, sell the units quickly, and then, we blink and it's done and it all looks cookie cutter. And that's a concern of mine here. There's a couple of letters in the packet from concerned citizens. There was a number of concerns, and Russ did a wonderful job, as did the two of you, addressing the concerns from folks from all over the area. Colonies did bring up a concern about how high some of those RM12 and RM14 buildings could be, in an area that doesn't currently have a lot of vertical construction. How many floors are we looking at here along that Dubuque Street higher intensity area? How high are these buildings going to be?
Yeah, go ahead. Thanks.
So generally speaking, the RM12, Russ, correct me if I'm wrong, is a 35 feet height limit. That's typically 3 stories.
It's 40, but
40.
Typically you'll see the 3 stories.
Typically 3 stories.
In 12. Okay.
In the RM14, it is a little bit of a height increase, but they're anticipated to still be 3 stories. There is a little more room there, but that's the currently anticipated. Again, they have some different models. That RM14, as you see here, could constitute a mix of townhomes and then those 12 and 24 plexes.
So the 24 plexes, what's the maximum height, Russ? I'm putting you on the spot, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
On 14.
In RM14, the proposed height, it's a proposed zoning class, is 45 feet.
So 4 stories.
I think 4 stories, I think you're pushing it when you get mechanicals in there. And if you had a flat roof and you had 10 story, that it could be close, but you could, yeah.
And I just add to that point about the flat roof versus a gabled roof or a pitched roof. It's measured differently. If it's a pitched or gabled roof or something in that nature, really challenging to meet that 45-foot requirement with 4 stories. Mm-hmm. Not saying it's impossible. It's challenging. The flat roof, that's a little different. Obviously, you might be able to get there. Again, it would be tight.
And the city went through a fair amount of planning process, the comprehensive plan obviously being one of them, but also you look at what we've done just here with this building, with the color, mm-hmm. with the brick, with the interface, with the walkability, the plantings that moves down towards the ice cream shop and eventually headed down Cherry Street. So we that's what we're interested in seeing. The days of, to Paul's comment, the browns, the grays, the same siding color across the street from one another, the same buildings in the same area that look exactly the same. We understand the construction type is going to be similar mm-hmm. in a 24-plex or 12-plexes, But that color variation, the difference in, shingles on the side or colors is very important, not just to us, but to the folks that, showed up in the Good Neighbor meeting. So certainly something that I hope you guys, keep in mind.
Certainly great feedback for us. And inside our organization, constantly staying focused on plan innovation and variation in the homes and making sure that that's something we're focused on. So I think it's great feedback for us.
And Mayor, finally, is Watts looking at some diversification in this large landscape? Are there lots that you guys are going to be selling, or you're locked in at Watts is developing and building the entire thing?
I wouldn't say that we're ever locked in. There's been some other conversations that have taken place. So I would never say never, that there could be a parcel. But traditionally, historically, we've developed the land that we acquire.
If I could, one more, I appreciate you guys and, being a developer that does, your people live around here, you're from here, so I feel like when we give you feedback like that you're actually, going to listen. And, I would just, also add that this is, Murray Elite going out there, there's development is going to be happening out there. And this is a main thoroughfare to the Cherry Street, investment district. And so it's an opportunity, a lot of people will use this road, see this road, so I just, aesthetically, I'm just paying more attention to this area for those reasons. And I know you guys will be good partners with us. And
certainly respect and appreciate that. And I think plan innovation and color variation and even, the covenants inside of the neighborhoods, that's all something that we'll give a great deal of thought to and certainly appreciate the feedback.
I think what you're trying to say there, Paul, it's a front porch to the city, right? So let's make sure that we're aware of that, because of if it doesn't fit or it doesn't look right, it then reflects on the rest of the city as well.
For sure. Yeah.
So I know traffic has been brought up a number of times by different people. I understand that you have commissioned a traffic study. Where are we at in that process?
You want to take that, John?
They recently completed it as of this afternoon. We have the information. It generally confirms some of the preliminary information that we had provided to Russ and the rest of staff. I don't remember. I apologize. I don't remember what you have in the report, but the short version is there's no issues with this level of density in this area. There are some items that will need to be addressed regarding improvements to the Dubuque Street or the Dubuque Street corridor. We would address those as part of the preliminary plat process. I know there's been some concerns about the Tartan Street traffic as well. Certainly there's going to be a straight through connection, so that's something, again, we would address with staff during the preliminary plat process to make sure that we're doing something that's pedestrian friendly, encourages traffic safety and so on and so forth. But we'll be providing that. Quite frankly, I want to review the information myself before I pass it on to staff. I didn't want to just forward it on without having a chance to look at it myself. But generally speaking, those were the findings.
Yeah, and generally, we're talking about turn lanes, things like that.
There was turn lanes, roundabouts were mentioned. Both are options. Was their findings was either turn lanes or roundabouts there. I know there was some conversation about access points to Dubuque Street. Their findings were that 2 was appropriate. Any more than that, and you start to cause some other issues with gaps and timing between those entrances and exits on and off on Dubuque Street.
And then kind of for us, I mean, we know that a development like this is going to increase traffic.
Yes.
The question is whether we need to make improvements for our traffic, for our road system to be able to handle the traffic. And we have a couple of road projects that are forthcoming that are already in the hopper. We have in 2028, we had a grant received to resurface Dubuque Street along this section and then add a roundabout at Juniper.
And then we just received another grant in 2030, which includes the next phase of Dubuque Street, which includes adding another roundabout at Zeller Street. What's exciting about this property and Watt's closing on this is we've talked about potentially including the roundabout for Tartan Street, even though Tartan wouldn't be ultimately built with that project. And so it already allows us to put, and potentially the other one. The other one is 7 Oaks Drive. That is going to be a main road, particularly up in Greenbelt. That's a collector street that goes up and will continue up into Greenbelt. So a lot of this traffic, while included in their development, also comes from the route. I think one thing we talked about is the potential for when Tart Street ultimately connects up, we anticipate it will relieve a lot of that cut-through traffic happening on Juniper Street. Now, admittedly, that's a long way away, but we're kind of viewing this as an opportunity to start looking at these things and program those roundabout things, just like we did on St. Andrews Boulevard. Might as well see if we can do them now and get ahead of that.
Yeah, and so I guess we as a city and city council and city staff know that traffic is going to change there. People's commutes, my commute is going to change. I drive that way every day. But that doesn't mean that we have to widen the road because our streets can still handle it. There's just more traffic. We may have to wait a little bit longer, or the drive will take a little.
Yeah, and the one thing John talked about a little bit was the 2 access points. When you have a road with a lot of driveway accesses and a lot of streets, that affects. It's really about how this traffic flows throughout that corridor, and really as we're fortunate to be able to live in modern times where we don't have all these driveway accesses off of here. So the approach here, and what their traffic consultant is saying is, you need now we need to do some things with these intersections because they're going to be major intersections, but you can cut down on the number of accesses. You can handle more traffic because then that traffic can flow throughout that corridor, particularly if we have roundabouts at Juniper and then Zeller. We think that we're building into place Dubuque to handle that additional flow that's going to move through there.
Russ, one thing that struck me out of one of these letters that came in, and I'm just going to read it. We see a focus on cost efficiency over long-term value, where homes may be affordable initially but struggle with resale as newer models from the same builder enter the market. We see a lack of meaningful neighborhood enhancements, fewer mature trees, minimal landscaping, and little investment in shared green space. With your experience, especially coming from a larger municipality, on larger developments like this, what do you see with the problem of resale, especially in those that move in early?
No, I looked at the Watts, I looked at the Preserve, and I kind of just did a Zillow kind of home price values. And I didn't, just by, and I'm not a certified real estate appraiser, so listen, take it for what it is. I didn't see a level of depreciation there that was surprising to me. I think we hear some things about Forever Green Heights down in Coralville, and that most of the bad comments that I receive is because of the craftsmanship, and the homes were just put up like row houses, track houses, and that they're already falling apart. And so I think it depends on the quality of the product, and I think it depends on the area. I think this is an outstanding area in North Liberty, and I just have a hard time believing that just because it's a second or third homeowner coming through, that property values would decrease. I also think, it's tough because the state's really limited our ability to do anything with exterior cladding on a 12-plex or less. So I think, if we had all single-family homes here and the market just doesn't support that, I think we all realize that. That can be monotonous. And so I think mixing up housing types adds to a little architectural variety. Certainly the architecture of the building along those blocks do the same, but I think that helps break up, everything kind of looking the same. And I know Paul and I talked about this. We don't require single-family homes, townhouses, and certainly anything that's 12-plex or less. We don't require the earth tone. So that, I mean, you can do white, and some people are.
Any other questions? Two questions I had for you is, well, one's I'll start off with a comment. I think the way that you have developed the preserve, if that's an example of what this will look like, I think we're off already to a good start on there. How much of an option maybe it's from the builder side, maybe it's from the buyer's side, in what homes will be constructed, single family, that are out there at the preserve right now? And maybe to follow up with that, do you have choices that they need to pick from, and how many is that? How do you get to what is out there? I think the single family homes that are out there in the preserve right now they're interesting. They're all different. You can see some other homes like it, but they're not sitting next door to each other mostly. So tell us about that process when you're interested in a lot out there. What are your choices?
Yeah, we've really utilized the preserve, and thank you for the comments there, as an opportunity to evaluate here based on price point, what we're seeing, what's selling. We've utilized that to help figure out what we can do here in time. And in terms of the lot reservations in the preserve, we've had a high level of interest in those smaller single family homes. I think they hit a certain price point for buyers, and we put a fair amount of time and focus on making sure there's a different look to the front elevation. We too, Brent, Paul, I appreciate the comments. We do not want to see tan and white and black all the time either. That's something we're thoughtful about as we think about our brand and our brand in the community. So, the lot size there and the house size really fits a certain buyer. And then as the lot size expands, we have a variety of plans that really takes it to that second level buyer or second time homeowner. And so that has helped drive what sells, what doesn't, and what the community wants. And that's helped us evolve and change in the preserve as we go. So I don't know if that's answering the question.
It's not, but I recognize that maybe you can't answer it specifically because it kind of gives away some of how you guys develop, which is high quality. When someone wants to buy a lot out there, does it already have the home? It's like, this home is going to be this.
Most of the time, a lot of them start as spec homes, but we'll get someone who will come to us based on location and say, we've seen this home down the street, or we've seen this one on your website. Can you make these minor tweaks to it?
Gotcha.
And we're willing to do that. In fact, we're doing that more than we ever have. And we're starting to do larger single family as well. And that's really gained a lot of traction here in our Trail Ridge development in Solon. So we're happy to customize something, but we have a number of plans that we've had over the course of being in business locally for 46 years. We've warehoused and archived that, and we have a few new architects that we are working with that have continued to make subtle changes so that we do pay close attention to making sure we have a different elevation and not everything looks the same. That's not organizationally what we aim for, because we know that exists out there, and something that, again, speaking to our brand and reputation in the community, we hold that with high regard and want to make sure we're putting out, great housing options that provide great neighborhoods, and the community's proud of that.
Yeah,
So.
and you are, and I will say, just as much as I like the diversity out of the preserve, the townhomes. On the other hand, I think you're improving on those, but it started off as we've all been commenting on. They're kind of the same, that section right across from North Bend Elementary right now is like a wall of townhomes. And I don't get the impression, based on your feedback so far to these questions from counselors, that that's what you're going to do out there. But having, as Counselor Smith said, diversity and how that looks may not necessarily apply just to single family home, but these buildings, as Counselor Leibold said, are going to be the front porch of the city. Something like that that we have across from North Bend just will not look great out there. So, and I don't know how much pressure, how much leeway we have and what that looks like out there, but I think you're hearing that message from just about all of us up there that those buildings especially need to be more interesting than the ones across from North Bend.
Yes, sir. I think we'll take that feedback and make sure that we store that feedback and we get to work on what could be different. And we have some things that anytime you embark on something like this, we've already kind of started to work on internally and gone to other markets and started to do our homework. But we want to continue to innovate for sure.
Yeah, and I'll end on a positive note. Like Councilor Park said, you guys have been doing this for a long time, and you've been a great community partner here with us. So I'm confident that this feedback it's already gotten us to this point. So I'm grateful for the efforts that are to come yet.
Thank you.
Any other questions, you guys?
Just, sorry, one more. Like I said before, as far as the brand goes, it'll be on, I know you guys have a lot of developments and your brand's on display. This will be on display. And I think the other thing, the colors, I mentioned that, but also the landscaping, particularly right along Dubuque Street, I think is a huge opportunity, for you guys and for us.
Agree. I think there's certainly an opportunity for some water features and some things as you head into town that we can do that could be really neat. So
yeah, just to add, because this is an arterial road and this is residential development, we have additional landscaping requirements along both sides of Dubuque Street. So good part about what I love is when the code requires it, because we don't have to ask nicely. We can just say this is required.
Awesome. Anything else?
I would just say, to your point, great partners, right? Take conversations, listening. And so that's encouraging on this first reading, that we can come back and have you guys work with us, sharpen your pencil, if you will, and then we can take a look at, before we get to a final spot, making sure that it's the vision that you have, that the comprehensive plan lined out, that this council feels is appropriate for the city. So thank you for that.
Maybe some more bass in there.
With that, I'll move to item D, which is first consideration of ordinance number 2025-12, an ordinance amending the zoning map district designation for certain property located in North Liberty, Iowa from ID Interim Development District to RS6 Single Unit Residence District, RS9 Single Unit Residence District, RD10 Two Unit Residence District, RM12 Multi-Unit Residence District, and RM14 Multi-Unit Residence District. Could I have a motion for consideration, please?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Park, seconded by Siddig. Are there any other questions?
Just one. 3 considerations, 2. How does this?
3.
Always 3.
3. Thank you.
And I just want to kind of echo what others have said about, I'm not sure I would be comfortable doing this with someone who's coming from out of town and wasn't local. Yeah. I think that's really important here. Appreciate your willingness to work. And I guess maybe one more question for John. Will we have a traffic study before our second reading, I guess, a few weeks?
Yeah, please do, John. That's a good question.
Let's see, the second reading would be June 11th?
10th.
10th?
10th.
Yes, you'll have a complete traffic study.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then I just wanted to address, I know there was some concern about multifamily residential decreasing property values of neighboring single-family residential. I don't think we have any examples of that in North Liberty. I think probably the opposite is generally true. I think there are probably very few residences in North Liberty that have decreased in value over the last 25 years. So I'm not concerned about that.
Point.
Yep, this side, I like the diversity of the buildings and ways laid out. So,
yeah, this is something, Mayor, we've talked about for a long time about housing stock and diversification in neighborhoods and not just single family and single family and single family. And so this is part of that, and it's one of the largest ones we've ever seen. And so although we're cautious, we do appreciate that they've listened to that, and that's clearly what the market's telling them as well.
And they've been just wonderful to work with. You know, I mean, took the feedback that we had about changes and just we're like, okay, you know, so that's always love when that happens through the process.
Tracy, can we have a roll call, please?
Leibold,
Aye.
Wason,
Aye.
Sittig,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Park.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Item 15 is Watts Group Development, Inc. rezoning on the west side. Item A is public hearing regarding proposed rezoning. Anyone in the audience wishing to make comment? I'm going to close the public hearing and move to item B, which is Planning Commission and staff recommendations again, Russ.
No need to repeat all of that. So just this is the larger side, and again, the second part of the development, but the Planning Commission did have one listed finding that achieved consistency with approval standards, and they unanimously recommended approval, and staff does as well. Thank you, Mayor.
Welcome. Any unique or other questions for Russ on the west side?
I guess my only question, I see a lot of, I mean, the south edge is all single family, right?
Yes.
So we are essentially locking that in for the property to the south, at least for some distance.
Potentially, yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know, the one thing that, yeah, I mean, potentially.
And we're comfortable with that. We don't, I mean, I think Forever Green would be the next high traffic road, and it's a little ways farther south. Right?
Yeah, the more the density, at least for the land use plan, would be more towards North Liberty Road and Dubuque Street. We would anticipate that could be an area for high intensity. And then as you kind of push further away, lower into medium, then low. And then certainly as you get towards Forever Green Road, maybe an area for higher.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I don't, not necessarily for Russ, but maybe just more for time frame. Looking at, you know, east and west, so they both start at the same time. Does one get 75% done before we start digging on the west side? What's that look like? Just because I'm looking at some of the things we talked about, the traffic, the neighbors, everybody that's involved with that. How does that work? Timeline perspective.
Yeah, are we good with any questions
sorry.
for Russ?
Did I
That's
jump
okay.
ahead?
I'll just try to clip off this. Are we done with Russ questions? Okay, I'm going to move on to item C, which is applicant presentation. So you can answer that question now.
Yeah, it's a good question, Brian. The first pass at, obviously, when we're looking at this, we created multiple models.
Yeah, you get multiple models. I know that. Yeah.
The first pass had, I believe, 5 phases on the east side, the east 55 acres, before we even thought about going to the west side.
Okay.
Anything you would add there, John?
No, I think that's generally in line. I think they envisioned a total of, it's changed a little bit off and on, but generally speaking, it's 5 on the east side, and I think it was 6 or 7 phases on the west side. Their intent is to start on the east side. Certainly market demands and some other things. Sure. You never know. Roundabout construction, a lot of things that may change that. Okay. Again, as the project goes forward, but for now they're planning to start on the east side and develop that
5
and then move to the west.
A year for each phase, 2 years for each phase, roughly.
Yeah, it could be a year or 2 per phase, market influence as well. Yeah, obviously, I mean, if the need's there, we'll accelerate, but we anticipate that phase 1 would be a sizable phase to get us started, and our hope would be that it goes well and we can continue to move, and could be as short as 5, 6 years on the east side. Could be as long as 7, 8. Really, we'll like we have in the preserve, kind of react to the market, and try and get in front of the market to the best of our ability.
What's the soonest you think you'll start?
Barring everything going okay, we would love to start construction in the spring, horizontal construction. So water and sewer are over there. So
this spring? Next
26.
Spring of 26.
There aren't many weeks left in the spring.
So Russ, a question for you and then maybe for John. Construction traffic. There's only one road coming off of Dubuque, well, two, I guess, on this side. What's the approach look like? And is there going to be the ability for them to do temporary construction access? Are they going to be coming in off of Lockmore and Lockview? Those are all the questions that I'm going to have.
And I'll piggyback on that too to say, where are your phases starting? Where's phase one go?
Phase one will likely be the northeast corner. Obviously, we have detention requirements. That's one of the areas. So we need to get that constructed right away. We need to tie into sanitary sewer and some other things.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and then it would mass grading, and then it could work either direction. It could either flow west from there, it could flow south from there in the RD10. It could flow right along Seven Oaks. That central corridor, there's a lot of different options. Again, it's going to depend on what that market bears. The one thing I'd say, that first phase, if you look there, it has the ability to grab some RS6, some RS9, some RD10. So there's a variety, not including the townhomes, but there's a variety of product that they can immediately get on the market and start to see what people are interested in that area. And to the question about the traffic, same as the other side. I think it's largely going to depend on, and especially on the west side, what's been constructed. If the roundabouts are constructed at Tartan, and if there's another one, that may dictate where we want to bring construction traffic from, whether we have it in the center of the site or as opposed to bringing it from the west, from Lockmore and some of the West Tartan, and I don't remember what the other streets are. I don't think it would be the street all the way to the north because that's part of a loop street system. It would either come from Tartan from the west, or again, it would come from Dubuque Street.
Certainly that was, I would say, the most common question and comment that I heard throughout the process. And I think John's response is the toughest one to answer because we don't quite know what the phasing is going to be. We have some ideas in the Northeast, but it's something we've heard. We'll be certainly cognizant of it, and we'll be asking them of how their construction traffic's coming in as we review those plans. But it really depends on the phasing.
So on the east side, you, by default of the type of building in the zoning, you're going to have some diversity of houses. But on the west side here, it's a big block of RD10 and a big block of RS9. Why did you do it and maybe not split that up a little bit to kind of increase the diversity of that area a little bit? Because now this is, really where it's going to be a big difference. If we're all going to have, looking exactly the same, this is where it's going to show up the most. Yep.
So I think that there's a couple of responses I'll try to address here. One, given it's on the west side, as Russ has mentioned multiple times, not on this project, but on various projects, it may change. I mean, if we're talking 7 years before we get to the west side, the market may demand something entirely different on that area. And certainly this is that first step. We wanted to plan something that provided enough of a mix of the RD10, the RS6, the RS9, the multifamily. I will say that the phasing that's broken out, generally speaking, on the west side, you can still get a mix of product. It is a little more located all together. That's being mindful of people want to live, generally speaking, next to similar product. That doesn't mean you can't mix it in a little bit, different places. Just looking at this, there's opportunities to change some of those blocks again to RD10 versus RS9, RS6 even, again, depending what that market bears 6-7 years from now.
That's a good observation, just with the quantity that's in there.
It just looks cramped.
Yeah.
It looks crammed in to maximize lots, and that's the concern that I'm hearing from constituents, is the cramming of what it appears to be.
26, do I count that right, in one of those blocks? The lower pink there?
In the RS9?
Yeah, the RS9, 13.
I think you're right, 13 per side. Block length in there is generally consistent. I think it's maybe just a few more lots. If I remember right, Preserve is want to say 9 or 10 RS9 lots per side. So it's roughly the same block length, or just a little bit larger for those block lengths. Certainly the RD10 in the center, other than those two on the north, those are broken up. The two right in the center are a little bit longer. And that's something that, we can, I think, opportunities to work with staff. There's still a preliminary plat that'll go through here. So there's maybe some opportunities to do something to break that up or mix it up a little bit through that process.
I'm not the applicant, but I'd say take a drive through the preserve if you haven't, and go up and down each of the streets, because it kind of looks like this in some ways. Like it would look like this on the map and the color coding, but it looks interesting. You'll see a duplex on one side of the street and a duplex on the other side of the street, but it's okay. And you'll see you'll see a couple of streets in a row that look like that. So it kind of gives this vibe if you were to look at it with the color coding that we see on this one.
And I'll add to that point, the preserve is a great example of that. As Randy said earlier, it's evolved over time. I mean, they've developed it over a period of years. If you go back through the history of that site, I think most of everything on the east portion of that site that's now a mix of RD10 and RS9 was, I believe, RS6 at one point, or a combination of maybe just RD10. And when RS9 was introduced, Lots Group saw an opportunity to maybe look at a different product, rezone some of those blocks from the RS6 and from the RD10 to that RS9 to, again, meet the market demands, meet what people were interested in buying, able to buy, provide that variety. So I think the same opportunity exists here. Again, as they move forward to that west side too, it may change. One of those RS9 blocks could change to an RS6 block. One of them could change to another RD10 block. There's generally going to be some variation. I obviously this is what we want to present. It's what you're considering. It's, as Russ mentioned, it's a very large scale project. It's one of the largest ones. It's the largest one I've ever worked on. 25 years at MMS. Preserve, I think, was the biggest one before that in North Liberty. So we do our best to anticipate some of those needs, some of the market demands, and then understand that there's flexibility. And we come back to council and present those options based on what's going on at that time.
No doubt there'll be a need to continue to look for new innovative plans as we move to that west side. I think we all recognize that, and this gives us a darn good reason to be motivated to do so. But a lot of, with the preserve being 78 acres, that was great framework from which us to work, because we've got kind of proof of concept, so to speak.
Exactly.
And so that was a big, that had a big impact on how we came at this west side. So.
Anything else?
Just last one more for us, but as those main, access points come on to Dubuque Street, I just know from also traveling that road every day, school letting out and parents coming in, to drop their kids off at school is our busiest time. And I kind of see eventually as this whole thing gets built out, that there being some congestion there as the flow of traffic heading towards Penn Elementary doesn't let off, they could get stuck there. So
there may be a new school east of there.
What's that?
There may be a new elementary school to the east off North Liberty Road that would serve some of this probably within the time period they're talking about.
Right.
Okay. As someone who's familiar with the car line at Penn Elementary.
Looking for that relief.
One quick question about water here. We saw a graphic of where the water's flowing on the east side. Where is it kind of flowing to those big detention basins, or on the west side?
You just have it. I think I have it.
It was
Yep, there it is.
Yep.
Yeah, we actually think it's going to help some of the stormwater because the area to the north doesn't have stormwater detention. The Heritage Christian School has some. So we think it's going to help some of those drainage areas because it'll have to accept that water. And then obviously to the southeast it flows.
So really the one to the north is taking water from
yes
already developed areas.
That's correct.
And it's going to help detain it before it gets into those existing homes. And the one in the southeast obviously is a very large, I mean, that's a large drainage shed that's going to that particular region. There's really an opportunity. It's got great access, visibility, Tartan and Dubuque as a main entryway. This goes back to some of the other points. Opportunity, I think Randy mentioned a water feature that can be really attractive area. You'll notice, and I'll just say this, the detention basins that you see on the concept plan, those are generally sized. We've done the preliminary sizing. That's what those are meant to represent. Doesn't mean the shape will be exactly the same, but they are sized appropriately for those areas. They're all wet, other than the 3 that are along the west side where there's simply not enough drainage area going to those, and it's too small of an area. But in particular, that one in the southeast, I think it has an opportunity to be a really attractive area. Yeah. And there's some extra green space that we've left in that particular one as well. So there's an opportunity not just to have just the detention basin, but if you go back to the concept, there's some extra green area.
And Councilor, if I may, the developer having all this land to begin with lets us have a kind of a holistic approach to stormwater detention and make sure that it's all phased appropriately, that we're doing it in a thoughtful way. And that's something that my office has been focused on, is making sure that everybody chips in to pay their fair share and make sure that everything's properly maintained. So this is something that I'm actually excited about for many reasons, but that one included.
The prelim thought process on that, on the west side of Dubuque, southeast corner there, that could be a nice opportunity for a nice entrance into the community with the water feature there. Prelim concept. And then some thought given to, even though those are dry bottom on the west side there, just with those backing up to other single family lots, we want to be thoughtful about that as well. So
Just probably exhaustively one thing just final to add. The street that you see on the south side of what would be future Tartan, closest to Dubuque Street, that is Naples. Naples comes up and is a very weird intersection on Dubuque Street. It's a private street, so we've talked a little bit. Naples will eventually go down, and we envision it connecting to Green Road. And so at this point, it kind of, the plan is to kind of have it come out a little bit and intersect Tartan just to clean up that intersection.
That won't happen until the property to the south is developed, though.
It could be a public project. I mean, but yeah, it's a private easement right now, I believe. Yes.
Any other questions? Thank you both for your time and expertise here. Item D is our first consideration of ordinance number 2025-13, an ordinance amending the zoning map district designation for certain property located in North Liberty, Iowa, from ID Interim Development District to RS6 Single Unit Residence District, RS9 Single Unit Residence District, RD10 2 Unit Residence District, RM12 Multi-Unit Residence District, and RM14 Multi-Unit Residence District. Could I have a motion for consideration, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Siddig, seconded by Leibold. Any other questions?
Mayor, just a comment. These folks, the developer, MMS, with a consultant with Russ, has been very attentive to the Good Neighbor meetings. They made adjustments. They made changes off of that feedback. I have seen that. And there's opportunity for additional feedback as this goes. So I would ask our constituents, keep those conversations going, keep those ideas coming, because what we've seen is they've been open to them and they've made those adjustments. So let's keep working together.
Great point. Thank you for bringing that up. Tracy, could we have a roll call for our first consideration, please?
Smith.
Aye.
Leibold.
Aye.
Park.
Aye.
Sittig.
Aye.
Wason.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. On to the second half of our meeting. Item 16 is our 2025A and 2025B bond sales. Item A is resolution number 2025-62, a resolution setting the date for the sale of taxable general obligation renewal bonds series 2025A and authorizing the use of a preliminary official statement in connection therewith. Could I have a motion for consideration, please?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions? Or Brian, would you mind just chopping these up real quick for us?
Sure.
What we're looking at here for the
Give you
public.
A rundown on both of them real quick.
Yes, please.
The first one, 2025A, is the economic development loan. This is a taxable general obligation note in the amount, an amount not to exceed.
I'm sorry, could you speak up, please?
My apologies. This is in 2025A is a taxable note not to exceed $21.5 million. That'll be sold on June 10th. And then 2025B is an exempt general obligation corporate purpose bond in the amount of approximately $8.75 million, or not to exceed 8.75. And this is for our some of our more recently completed municipal projects, such as the City Hall, several street projects, and Centennial Center.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Tracy, could I have roll call, please?
Leibold.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Park.
Aye.
Wason.
Aye.
Sittig.
I'll abstain due to a conflict.
Motion carries 4-0. Item B then is resolution number 2025-63, a resolution setting the date for sale of general obligation corporate purpose bonds series 2025B and authorizing the use of a preliminary official statement in connection therewith. Could I have a motion for consideration?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Sittig, seconded by Wason. Are there any questions? Tracy, could I have roll call, please?
Sittig.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Leibold.
Aye.
Wason.
Aye.
Park.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Item 17 is GRD Burleson LLC annexation, and this is item A, resolution number 2025-64, a resolution approving annexation of certain real property to the city of North Liberty, Iowa. Could I have a motion for consideration, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Sittig, seconded by Park. Are there any questions? Tracy, roll call, please.
Wason.
Aye.
Leibold.
Aye.
Sittig.
Aye.
Park.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Item 18 is Greenbelt Trail, Parts 5 and 6. And item A is resolution number 2025-65, a resolution approving the developer's agreement for the Greenbelt Trail Part 5 subdivision, North Liberty, Iowa. Could I have a motion for consideration?
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions? Tracy, roll call, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Sittig.
Aye.
Leibold.
Aye.
Wason.
Aye.
Park.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Item B is resolution number 2025-66, a resolution approving the developer's agreement for the Greenbelt Trail Part 6 subdivision, North Liberty, Iowa. Could I have a motion for consideration, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Smith, seconded by Park. Any questions? Tracy, could I have roll call, please?
Sittig.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Park.
Aye.
Leibold.
Aye.
Wason.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Item 19 is Hodge Workforce Housing Tax Credit, and item A is resolution number 2025-67. This is a resolution supporting the application of Jordan Street Developers, LLC for funding via the Workforce Housing Tax Credit Program and pledging city monies for the same. Could I have a motion for consideration, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Park, seconded by Leibold. Are there any questions about this one?
I would offer that Kevin Digman with Hodge Construction is here and has a presentation for us.
Kevin, thanks for hanging in so far.
I think these guys, Ryan and Russ, kind of asked me to explain how this works. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the program the state offers or not. I don't want to take you too much time because it's done it, but I want to explain the difference, talk about some projects we've done and how it helps stimulate things to get going. So there's a lot of questions between what is affordable, like workforce housing tax credit that state issues, and what is affordable housing. The big distinction is affordable housing tends to be something that's heavily subsidized through the process, and it's continued to be subsidized through the state to help with affordable housing, and it has reduced rents. Workforce housing is more of a program that the state has come up with and says, we want to encourage communities, we want to encourage developers to build in certain communities. So there's a process where we have to find an application, we have to submit it to the state with our projects. It's very competitive. They only award it, like every year they allocate about $35 million of tax credits to be given out. And then as a developer, we have to, make application to it. They ask that the city that's doing that, the developer that is awarded in the city, they ask this at a minimum that the city would participate $1,000 per unit for the, like a subsidy to help make it happen. In other communities, they might have a TIF project. So if there is no TIF or anything like that involved, it is $1,000 minimum that they ask the state to do. And again, if you just, again, it talks about the incentive program about that the state tries to do. There is a cost cap on how much the units can cost. There's $230,000 for multifamily and urban area, and then $250,000 for small cities. Go to the next slide. We'll just kind of jump through this. So in 2025, the program had, and this was actually what was awarded last year, right? So it was $35 million available, 17, or this is for the 17.5 million is in for small cities, 17.5 is available project located in all other communities within Iowa's most 11 populated counties. So obviously we're in that 11 most populated counties. In 2024, there was a $37 million that was awarded to 62 projects. Only one project was awarded in Johnson County. It was probably one of our projects. If you guys know where Von Maur is in Coralville, the east side of that, we've done those projects, and each one of those projects was awarded tax credits. In Lynn County alone, they were awarded $2.4 million. In 2023, again, they were awarded $38 million. 58 million projects. One was in Johnson County. I don't quite remember who got it. It wasn't us. And then there was 7 of them in Lynn County. So I'll run through a couple projects that we have had it. So we had the first ones we're going to look at here are in Iowa City. This is on Dubuque Street on the corner of Dubuque and Prentice in Iowa City. This was done 3 or 4 years ago. And I had, I added the assessed value to these things because in every community, property taxes are what pays the bills, right? I mean, you guys always have to generate property taxes. But you can kind of see as we go through these, the kind of value that gets created on these particular sites by putting some of these multifamily units here. So, the other one was, this is actually on Prentice Street, same kind of development in the same area. Again, another one in Iowa City, assessed value is $9.8 million. Then this is the first building we did in IRL. That was Parkview 1. That was the one with the big pitch roof down there. The next one was the other one that backs into Von Maur. That's, again, almost $11 million assessed value. So there was the Iowa City. And then we did this one in Hiawatha. We finished this one a couple years ago. And that was awarded up there, and that's kind of got a little bit of commercial in it on the first floor, and the rest is all residential. And that was in a situation where they actually did tax abatement on that project also, because they're looking to redevelop it. So, and then of course, our last one that we're just started is the project, the third building in IRL. If you see one going up there, that same development, we have that. So, and then this is a project we actually, I don't remember, sometime last fall came down with Ryan and Russ showed them this project on Jordan Street. It's kind of like we have 4 lots developed on the, I call it the east side of Top Shape Gym, just on that area. You got the detention basin that overlooks 965. These are 2 buildings, each about, I think they're 48 units apiece. Quite honestly, what happened is we wanted to build them. We all know interest rates are up, construction costs are up. I mean, if we'd had this program a year ago, they would have been started, right? And that's it. That's kind of the thing about this. Your incentive does not come until this building is done. So until it gets built, it doesn't happen, right? And when you always kind of look at it, I think about the taxes that get generated from it, the $1,000 that gets contributed by you in a year or so. Once the thing is assessed, you get that back, in the form of property taxes. Some ratio, I know the taxes get split, but the longer these things get delayed and don't happen until the market conditions work, means it just slows the process, right? So there's just another image of it. That kind of shows you a site plan where it had parking surrounded it. We've pulled the buildings to the front of the street just to kind of keep the parking in the rear. It does back into some other multifamily, but there is a very good, berm there. It's got lots of trees that separate it already. And this is just kind of showing you floor plans of it. So, and that's kind of the view if you look across the street. So obviously this area, we all know with what's going on in this area with the university coming in, Steinler, you're going to have more commercial stuff, got lots of people there with Hy-Vee and all these other commercials. More housing just helps everybody, right? If you can create more housing for folks, even that's not affordable housing, it does provide housing, which helps keep the, more supply demand, right? The more supply there is, the rents don't have as easy of a chance to get pushed up when they do, so. And I just wanted to I did a little math for everybody, like the incentive here is up to $15,000 per unit is what you could be eligible for. We've never got that full amount. It's usually less than that. And then, you kind of go through the numbers, but then when you sell the tax credits, you got to pay somebody, they'll pay you 90 cents on the dollar. So you get, 90 cents of that. Then when you get the sales, then they're also a taxable event for you. So you have to pay income taxes on the sale. So at the end of the day, your after-tax assistance out of this might be $8,500. So it's not as big of an incentive as it starts out with being that. But I just did some math to show if you did a project and each unit was $215,000 back when interest rates were 3.5%, and took that full $15,000, applied it, so you did $200,000. On a $200,000 per unit, your payment alone is $300 more if you use a 3.5% interest back in the day versus a 6.5%. I kind of got confused. They're saying that, but even borrowing less money today means your payment is $600 more. And we know between taxes going up and insurance going up and expenses, there's no way we can continue to drive rents to outpace what expenses and interest rates have caused on these houses and to build these buildings. So our request is to get just make the request. We have to have this to send the application in, and the application's due June 10th. So we have to get that in. Otherwise, and there is no guarantee. You guys aren't making a commitment today. You're saying, hey, we'll support you if this works. But it's we'll know by October, I believe, is when they release who they awarded it to. So
that was very helpful, Kevin. Thank you.
Sure. If there's any questions.
Are there any questions for Kevin? My caveat is that based on what you told us in this presentation, is that it doesn't look good that you'll get the tax credit based on where we live and being in Johnson County. I hope you do. This would be a really fantastic project. I didn't mean to demoralize.
This is the only project we're applying for in Johnson County too. We're not doing anywhere else. So
this would be a great project. Mm-hmm. Are there any questions?
Our total from the city is $96,000.
Assuming it
to commit to.
Assuming it's the 48, yes.
Yeah.
And I think we have the maximum in here would be 96. So that's what the resolution says.
Yeah, it wouldn't be more than that. I mean, if we tweak the plans and something goes down, it would just be what ultimately gets put out there.
Mm-hmm. How many rooms is each unit, Kevin?
Pardon?
How many rooms are in each unit?
Let's see. There's a mix of ones and twos. Exactly the count, I don't remember. I think we usually do about 30% twos and 70% ones anymore. It just feels like the demand for one bedrooms have increased recently.
Okay.
So.
And these are intended to be rentals then going forward, or?
I'm sorry,
Sorry, these are intended to be rentals going forward?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And
the problem with selling these, we've had over the years, people used to build these multifamily units and sell them, right? And what happens is, part of the condo world has changed as far as how you can finance stuff. It's not as easy to get finance in these things. And then what happens is inevitably you're going to have more demand renting than selling, right? And from a finance standpoint, as a landlord or developer, it's easier for me to finance one building that has 48 units in it than say 36 units in it and the other 12 are sold. They kind of call that a broken condo, and it doesn't bode well with, the banks and financial institutions that do the lending on them. And the other difference is we're here. I know there's a lot of people that come in and build stuff that you guys don't even know who they are. I mean, when we do projects, we have friends and family money coming into it, right? So we don't go solicit, East Coast money, or we're not some developer that comes in here. I mean, and we want to make sure, obviously to attract capital to do it, you have to be able to provide a return to your investors. And things like this just, quite honestly, just make it possible to get to that level. So
These are probably going to be market rate rentals then?
it'll still be market rate, yes. All of the projects we've done have make a market rate. But if you can look back at the buildings, I mean, you can see they're quality buildings. I mean, every one that we've done is almost all brick. They got, granite countertops, stainless steel. I mean, these are not, they're not cut corners. All of them have 9-foot ceilings in each unit. So, and this is the thing. I mean, Coralville and Iowa City have been in this for a long time. I'm not saying that holds you against it, but it's helped stimulate a lot of project for those communities when they've done it. So
Certainly like how close it is to the new hospital.
Okay. All right, thanks.
I'm sure you do too.
Are there any other questions? All right. Tracy, could we have roll call, please?
Smith,
Aye.
Leibold,
Aye.
Wason,
Aye.
Park,
Aye.
Sittig.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Item 20 is MLDC Inc. rezoning, and item A is third consideration and adoption of ordinance number 2025-07, an ordinance amending the zoning map district designation for certain property located in North Liberty, Iowa, from RS7 PAD Single Unit Residence District Planned Area Development and ID Interim Development District to RS4 Single Unit Residence District on approximately 4.10 acres, RS6 Single Unit Residence District on approximately 1.74 acres, RS9 Single Unit Residence District on approximately 0.42 acres, and RD10 2-Unit Residence District on approximately 10.34 acres. Could I have a motion for consideration and adoption, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Sittig, seconded by Leibold. Are there any questions?
Anything more from you, Mr. Wason?
Oh, no, still no.
Okay.
Russ, any updates on stats with the?
No change.
Okay,
So
thank you.
still requires 3/4 majority.
Okay.
Have you heard anything more from those that wrote in?
I have not heard anything since the public hearing.
Okay, very good.
Thank you for those questions, councilors. Tracy, could we have a roll call, please?
Sittig,
Aye.
Leibold,
Aye.
Park,
Aye.
Wason,
No.
Smith.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-1. Item 21 is water rate ordinance amendment, and item A is second consideration of ordinance number 2025-08. This is an ordinance amending chapter 92.02 entitled Rates for Service of the Municipal Code of North Liberty by adopting a new section 92.02 to increase the charges for water used. Could I have a motion for consideration, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Sittig, seconded by Wason. Are there any questions? Tracy, can we have a roll call, please?
Leibold,
Aye.
Wason,
Aye.
Sittig,
Aye.
Park,
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Item 2 is sewer rate ordinance amendment, and this is also second consideration of ordinance number 2025-09, an ordinance amending chapter 99.02 entitled Rate of the Municipal Code of North Liberty by adopting a new section 99.02 to increase the charges for sanitary sewer services. Could I have a motion for consideration, please?
So moved.
Second.
By Park, seconded by Wason. Any other questions? Tracy, could we have roll call, please?
Wason,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Sittig,
Aye.
Leibold,
Aye.
Park.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Item 23 is our zoning ordinance amendments, And item A is second consideration of ordinance number 2025-10, an ordinance amending Chapter 168 of the North Liberty Code of Ordinances governing residential, commercial, and industrial districts, defined and dimensional standards, and the use matrix table, and Chapter 173 of the North Liberty Code of Ordinances governing business and public use signs. Could I have a motion for consideration, please?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Sittig, seconded by Park. Questions? Tracy, roll call, please.
Park,
Aye.
Sittig,
Aye.
Leibold,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Wason.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Is there any old business? See none, new business?
Mayor, I'd be interested in Russ, as Kelly was here talking about Juniper Street, and thank you for working with her. She must have heard something from you on school zone speed on Juniper with Heritage. What was she referring to? Is that something we can do?
Yeah, so for some reason, Heritage Christian School is not, we don't have a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit through there. We had a very pleasant conversation, very nice. We talked about a variety of options. Obviously, I'm part of our traffic group, internal traffic group that Josiah and the chief and Michael Pentecost, and then we talk about these issues. So we did recently put up the covert traffic, the speed feedback sign. I think some people see it, and that rightfully so tells them to slow down. We did recently put up the covert one where you don't know it's coming in. So we're curious to see how that's going to come out. We're going to talk about a variety of different options at our traffic study group. As we look forward to Tart Street, I think that it's a challenge that I'm very passionate about is looking at roadway design of how to physical controls to slow people down. When you create these wide open roads, people drive fast. I think we all recognize that. At some point in time, we're going to repave Juniper Street through there. Maybe that's an opportunity to do. So I think we have some short-term, medium-term, and long-term solutions that we're looking at.
Excellent. Glad to hear that. Thank you.
Anything else?
Just a shout out to the staff for, I don't know how other cities do it, but our packet and just the way it's laid out and the visual, displays and everything is appreciated. So, thank you. You're welcome.
With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved, seconded, thirded. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.